We've got injury updates on Paul George, Joel Embiid, Scottie Barnes, and all 30 NBA teams. Michael Bolton is the healthiest man in the world, though.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and in the club, we all fam. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Have you got a favorite team? Well, we've got a favorite newsletter for your favorite team, lockedondaily.com. All of the information that you need at your fingertips. Go to lockedondaily.com, sign up for your favorite team's newsletter. You haven't guessed which one I signed up for. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I chose this team. I signed up for Locked On Pelicans. There you go. I got the Locked On Pelicans newsletter coming. Maybe I'll sign up to other teams as well, but you can go check those out for your favorite team and all the information from our shows, but also around the wider community. Thank you also for double banging and thumbing up. And you know how I've been on a quest for 100k subs on YouTube, and I was thinking, is it going to get there or not? YouTube sends through like a little notification saying, here's your last week in review. Last week, 99,000 people, individual people, watched a show. So I was like, all right, we can hit 100k subs. So that means that there is a bunch of people who are watching who aren't subscribed. So hit it. Let's go. Let's do it. We can hit 100k. I'm excited for it never to happen, but it's possible. I'm reinvigorated. Injury report. 30 teams. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you the injuries that are happening, give you little information parts about replacement guys, but also estimated return dates, which are, of course, gigantic estimations. We don't know. It might be later, it might be earlier. The teams don't give us concrete information. This is to the best of my ability with most of this stuff. Well, it's always to the best of my ability, but most of these are estimations from me because there is no concrete timeline for a lot of these injuries. Good? Yep, we're good. All right, let's start. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. Quite a few guys on their injury report at the moment. You've got DeAndre Hunter, who's missed the last couple with knee soreness. At the moment, I'm just going to list him questionable, and the same with Bogdanovic, who's missed the last two with a hamstring tendinopathy. I am more worried about Bogdanovic than I am Hunter, but Hunter, we know there's an ongoing knee problem. We just don't roster him. Like, he's just not a 12-team league guy. Bogdanovic is. While Hunter is out, you can stream Ricochet. I don't think there's long-term value there. The problem then is the backup point guard was supposed to be Kobe Buffkin, and he's out with a shoulder injury. I've got him out until about the 4th of November, and yeah, I've put the dates in backwards land format, so those of you who can't read proper dates can read those. So Kobe Buffkin is out until, I've got the 11th, the 4th, even I can't read him now because I've reversed it. 4th of November for Kobe Buffkin, and the guy that was replacing him was Vic Krejci, who's left last game with an adductor issue. I would say that you leave the game with an adductor strain, a groin strain, a muscle strain, you're going to miss. So I've got Krejci doubtful at the moment, so that means there is like no backup point guard. I guess it's Dyson Daniels because everyone's out. Cody Zeller is also not with the team. I don't think he's going to play a single second for this squad, so I don't think we need to worry about him too much. But that's a lot of injuries that are piling up there, giving extra opportunities to guys like Daniels maybe, but more so someone like a Ricochet, who is, if all those guys return, there's just not as much for Ricochet to do, which makes him hard to be a rosterable guy. The Boston Celtics, yes, there are some big injuries. One big injury there, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. We knew that. I've got him coming back around Christmas. Who knows? Maybe it's the start of December. Maybe it's early January. I don't know. They've been sort of up and down on that date. Even when he comes back, he's not playing back-to-backs like all season, and he will be minutes limited, I'm guessing. Maybe he hits 30 by the All-Star break. The other one is Sam Hauser, who played a good game opening night, then has a back issue. I'm just going to label him questionable. While he is out, there's more to do for Peyton Pritchard, and then there's just a random assortment of Jordan Walsh's or Nemesh Caters. There's been a mix of different players there, and we can take a look at some of them, but really, it's all about Pritchard in that scenario. And of course, Al Horford is the must-roster guy with Porzingis on the sidelines. In Brooklyn, no real changes here. Yeah, Ben Simmons is sitting Tuesday. That's just a back-to-back situation, so don't worry about that if you care that much about Simmons. That was always likely. Bojan Bogdanovic has had wrist and ankle issues. I've got him out until about the 19th of November. When he comes back, I'm not really sure how all that rotation fits in because there's Finney-Smith, there's Johnson, there's Clowney, there's Jalen Wilson who's been playing, there's Zaire Williams. Not saying we're rostering Bojan, but it'll be an interesting fit. Day'Ron Sharpe, hamstring, I've got him out to the 19th of November as well. I would expect that further decreases Noah Clowney's value, which is really frustrating. And then Trendon Watford, who's got a hamstring issue as well. Probably a little bit earlier for him. I've got him around the 4th of November. I'm not sure there's actually a huge spot in the rotation for him every night, given the way that their rotation looks at the moment. But there are going to be other things that crop up, obviously, as we move forward. In Charlotte, now it is very easy for me and you to clown on the Hornets injury reporting. I get it. I think it's been very, very good this season. It's been much clearer. There has not been the issues in previous seasons because they, again, new ownership, new management, new training staff. And I am certain they heard about the nonsense they did last season. So maybe, do I take credit? No, but maybe me calling them out every single day for the doubtful tags, maybe it did something. If it is, you're welcome. If not, business as usual. Brandon Miller, I've got him out to about the 2nd of November with his glute. He could be out a little bit longer. We just hold, and with him out, obviously it's just Trey Mann who gets that big bump. Mark Williams and his foot, I know I've listed him doubtful there, and that's not to play on the doubtful stuff from last season. I think he'll be back, I'll say at least by the beginning of week 3, and I've got him doubtful because I just don't think they're going to spring it on us that he's returning. So I don't think he plays the next game. Maybe it's 1 or 2 after that, and that means that Nick Richards, who's doing way better than he did last season, will lose value there as Williams ramps up. And the other guy who is on this team, unbelievably, Daquan Jeffrey, is part of the Towns trade. He's got a fractured hand. He's out until middle of November, but he's not going to play anyway, so I don't think we need to worry about that to a huge degree. Look at this one, the Chicago Bulls, your mates, no injuries. Well, actually, that's not true because just after I got ready to record this, both Lonzo Ball and Jalen Smith popped up on the injury report as questionable. Lonzo with a wrist issue, which you just don't love to see that, and Jalen Smith with an ankle issue. We hope that's nothing serious there with Lonzo in particular. But this is, again, part of the issue. People go, why do you hate Lonzo? Don't love him. I think he's an unbelievably good player, an unbelievably good fantasy player, and I've nearly always been ahead of consensus on him in terms of fantasy value, except when you're limited in minutes, when there are a lot of other guards around, and yeah, he's probably better than all of them at his peak, but when is that coming? If you've got stash ability, you do it. That's cool. Roto leagues, weekly leagues, games cap formats, you can do it. And you hope that you get 26 minutes in January. But I don't see any way that by November the 30th, Lonzo Ball's the starting point guard playing 27 minutes a night. Because he's going to sit all back-to-backs as well. So that is why I'm out on holding Lonzo, because you're just going to have a dead roster spot for a big period of time, I believe, and it might not ever come to anything else. In Cleveland, 2 injuries. You've got the Winter Soldier, Max Strus, who's got that severe ankle sprain. We've got him out until the beginning of December. At the moment, obviously, Dean Wade is starting, and then there's just like Sam Merrill's getting 20 minutes. LeVert's like 21 to 25. I thought LeVert would be a very clear option there. Not really. More of just a schedule stream guy. And then Craig Porter Jr. is dealing with a thumb issue. I had him as questionable. He has actually been ruled out for the next game, but it doesn't matter. Milk is the guy getting those backup minutes at point guard, and Porter, while we do like him a lot, there's just nothing there for him. In Dallas, that is the next team we go to, Maxi Kleber, just the standard Maxi Kleber, another injury, lower body, hamstring. He's out. I think we might get him back at the end of this week. And then his return does put a marginal cramp on the way that the Gafford and Lively minute split goes. They're both Gafford and Lively must-roster players. It just means instead of like 21-27, it might be 21-24 with a couple of extra minutes going to Kleber, which does hurt Lively, probably doesn't impact Gafford that much. And then Dante Exum's out for a long time, probably middle of January with a wrist problem. There is going to be maybe a rotation spot when he returns, but it just doesn't matter for the majority of us in fantasy. In Denver, there's only one person that is on this injury report, and that is the headmaster, Jamal Murray. And I put hamstring, and I'm double checking. Was that actually a hamstring thing? Because he just popped up with an injury designation. That was an ankle. I don't know why I wrote hamstring. My bad. It is an ankle issue for Murray, and he's considered probable with that ankle issue. So I don't think we worry too much about it. But yeah, he's there, so we've got to talk about it. The Detroit Pistons, still no update on Asar Thompson, who is dealing with that blood clot. I have got him at the moment. I've just ruled him out through to the 4th of November. I think it's almost impossible to be rostering him, honestly. Now, obviously, if he sits in your IL and you don't need it, no worries. That's all good. But when he comes back, if he comes back, we hope it's really soon, but we just don't know. He'll be, I'm guessing, limited because, you've got to get conditioning up. And then, is there just 30 minutes to walk into? No, not really. And his shooting's going to be bad? We know this. I'm not sure it's going to work out for him this season. The other one is Bobby Klintman, second-round rookie, who's dealing with a calf issue. We've got him out until about the end of the week as well, about November the 4th. I would love to see him play minutes. I don't think it's going to happen, and that's okay. He's a second-round rookie. But I do think he's got some long-term value. Speaking of long-term value, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time Picks is the newest innovation from the overall legends over at Game Time. They're always doing something new. They're always tinkering. They're always thinking. They're always in their old blue sky sessions writing up ideas on the whiteboard, and the new one is Game Time Picks. What does it do? It filters out the fluff. It cuts out the garbage. It shows you the best tickets available for your favorite sports team or concert event or whatever it is. It goes in there. It shows you the best value thing, so you don't need to waste your time or your money trying to determine what is going to be the best option for you and your cadre of companions. It's also got the lowest price guarantee, the event cancellation protection, the job loss protection, the views from your seat. The features, it's so long. The list is gigantic. So check it out at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Okay, back into the grind of the 30 NBA teams. The Golden State Warriors. 3 injuries all just popped up at once. We have been lamenting the Warriors and their 12-man rotation, and now that no longer exists because Steph Curry is out. I've got him out until about November the 6th. I don't know how realistic that is. He's definitely missing the next 2 games. I would think that... I would expect that it's more likely that Steph misses 2 weeks than he misses only 2 games. The guy that I thought would be a good replacement is DeAnthony Melton, and he's out for the next 2 games at least, so maybe he's back on November the 11th, but this is entirely troubling because he missed all of the end of last season, basically, came back and played a little bit, but with this back problem. And then he signed here, and now the back is flaring up again. And there's no point having DeAnthony Melton if there is an ongoing back issue, and the only opportunity for him to be solid would be when Steph is out, and he is out at the same time. So I don't think you need to be rostering DeAnthony Melton. That does mean that Brandon Podziemski is going to have to get a boost because there are no point guards here, unless my man, the Vulture, Reese Beekman, steps up. We'll see. Some have suggested maybe Gary Payton. I think a lot of people are looking at that because his dad was a point guard, but Gary Payton plays basically like Alex Caruso, but even less like a guard. He's like a small forward, power forward guy and power forward sounds stupid, but he guards forwards, he guards wings. He doesn't handle the ball really at all. But it'd be very interesting to see how they do that because the other guy that's out is Andrew Wiggins. Now, he was officially doubtful, and now he is out. We knew it was trending towards that. Maybe he plays on Wednesday, but we don't know. This should mean Hield, Kuminga, Podziemski, all way up. They should all be way up. Even someone like Hall Pass legend Lindy Waters might get a couple of extra opportunities here, and Moses Moody. And with 4 games on, a lot of these players, Kyle Anderson, are in position to have some improved value. We go to Houston, and it's looking good, thankfully. No injuries in Houston. We love to see it. Indiana's pretty good as well. The only guy on the injury report there is the dildo Johnny Furphy, who is questionable with an illness. He's not going to play most nights anyway, so that doesn't impact us really at all. This one does. We go to the Clippers to talk about the fun guy, Kawhi Leonard. I tried to put a date when he would return, but I don't know. He's got the knee thing, obviously. I've written 20th of November there. But honestly, if he played 5 games before Christmas, I wouldn't be shocked. If he didn't play until Christmas, I wouldn't be shocked. There's just no transparency with anything that they do. They lie every time they speak regarding Kawhi, so who knows? And while he is out, we really, really love the value that we get from Norm Powell. We get that boost from Chris Dunn if you're looking for defensive stats. Derek Jones actually becomes useful as well in this time period, and Harden and Zubats cook. Mo Bamba's still out with his knee problem. Kai Jones was getting the backup minutes, but he's also very, very terrible, and Zubats is playing 1 million minutes. I do not think for 1 million years that we are going to be in a situation where Bamba comes back and goes, all right, boys, Zubats, you sit down, I'm good. No way. This guy is bad. He's been bad for his whole career, and if Ty Lue comes in and does that, well, any respect I have for Lue as a high-level coach would be out the window. PJ Tucker's not with the team. He's going to be out indefinitely. They're trying to find a trade. Not sure who wants to trade for a 39-year-old washed legend, but that's where we're at. The Lakers, too. Now we go on to the Lakers, who only have the 2 injuries, but interestingly, there's been a train of thought that I've heard around fantasy circles of like, we're drafting LeBron and drafting AD is this big like cheat code, because then you can use the IL plus trick and get all these extra games out of it. And to me, that's always been a bit of a garbage idea, because you're still limited to how many players you can pick up, right? So I know you can go ahead and do that and put them in these IL spots days in advance on Yahoo, and then that gives you all these extra games, but you still are in a situation where you've got limited moves, you've got limited ads, and then if there's a situation when they're playing and then they come off that injury designation, you can't make a move. I just didn't think it was anything that was any sort of advantage whatsoever to that degree. But the Lakers aren't playing that game. We aren't seeing LeBron or AD on that injury report. Now, all it took last year was like one tiny tweak, and then they were on it for 75 games in a row. But they haven't done it yet. There's 2 actual injuries here. One of them is Jared Vanderbilt, and the other one is Christian Wood, who had knee surgery. Now, both of these guys will be in the rotation when they return. I actually don't think that Vanderbilt returning is going to have a gigantic impact on someone like Rui Hachimura. I worry that Vanderbilt's foot injury is way more severe than this, to be honest, and Wood will just replace Jackson Hayes. So I actually don't think there's going to be a massive impact. It's more going to be like, how much does Dalton Connect play and what happens to Jackson Hayes versus Rui now playing 27 minutes. Because, again, I just think Vanderbilt's foot might be in real trouble. And they like what Rui's doing. He's playing really well. So I'm not actually that concerned about those things. The next team that we take a look at, we go to Memphis. Of course, we know what happens in Memphis. There's just lots of injuries, and one of those is Ja Morant, who's dealing with a thigh issue. He missed the last game, and they've been playing him limited minutes. I've got him questionable for the next one, but the fact that he's missing, the fact that they've got back-to-backs coming up, means I think he's going to be on this minutes limit again, and I don't get it. I mean, I do, but it's also completely unconventional the way they're treating all of this. And that means we just keep riding with Scott Pippen. Vince Williams with his leg stress reaction. I've got him out until about the middle of November. All these guys returning. Vince, Gigi, Kennard, Conchar, Morant. Like, it obviously impacts what happens with Huff and LaRavia and Pippen and all of these guys who are putting up okay numbers. Like, that is a lot that needs to come back into this team. So we can use what's happening now. All good. But there's a lot to change. Greg Jackson II is out until around Christmas with his fractured foot. He is just not going to play anywhere close to a large enough role on this team to matter for almost any fantasy league. Luke Kennard, I've got out until about the 10th of November with foot soreness. He'll get some minutes, but like that'll probably mean that someone like Jalen Wells is out of the rotation, but still another name to just chuck in there. And then Johnny Conchar's missed the last couple with a foot problem as well. Conchar's one of those players who can do like defensive stat stuff, like Alex Caruso type of thing, but again, very hard to have any reliability there. But these are just all players who will be in and out of rotations, and that impacts everyone upstream, downstream. It also makes it, I believe, incredibly hard for us to have any value or any reliance on someone like Zach Edey, because he's not good, and it means everyone has to sort of push up into different positions, and you don't get any of Santi at the 3, really. He plays the 4, and Brandon Clark's the 5. It's just all over the place, and that really does impact what Edey is able to do. The next team we go to is the Miami Heat. The only injury there is Kevin Love, who's not an injury. It's a personal thing. He has been ruled out again for the next game. We hope everything is okay with Kevin. Thomas Bryant's getting those backup minutes, and we just do not care at all from a fantasy point of view. In Milwaukee, the one that we need to look at is Khris Middleton, who is very obviously dealing with that foot problem or ankle issues and surgery. There is a chance that he is ready to return on the weekend, or he's able to return maybe early next week. He will be heavily limited, I'm going to guess, until like Thanksgiving-ish. Yeah, like it's going to be frustrating, but he can be good enough in 27 minutes. But this is, again, a situation where the reports, they are a low-key lying team as well. This team, Dr. Rivers in charge, a low-key lying team about, oh, no, he's fine. Like, this is a nothing procedure. He'll be right. Opening day, we're ready to go. And then we're still sitting here and he's not there. And the same thing happened last year. And I think the same thing happened the year before. They lie all the time. So it's getting really frustrating with dealing with Middleton and his returns, even on things that appear to be okay. Minnesota is the next team we take a look at, and they are, at this point, clean. Good for them. And then we go to a team that is not clean, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans, and 2 of their best 5 players are out. Dejounte Murray, we've got out until around Thanksgiving as well with that fractured hand. And with him out, you're seeing more for Jordan Hawkins to do. Well, that's with both of these guys out. Actually, Trey Murphy's out. I've got until the 11th of November with his hamstring. So it's more for Jordan Hawkins. It's not really more in terms of minutes for anybody else significantly, but it's just more for McCollum to do, more for Ingram to do. Hopefully at some point it's more for Zion to do, but Ingram and McCollum are really pushing up high. And if you are looking at a sell high on those sort of guys, understand you've got to take a short-term hit. You have to, because they will be better until the guys come back, and then they'll probably drop off. And Jordan Hawkins is the guy we look at as a nice three-point shooting option, hit some threes, get some points, and long-term that value is going to be really hard, I think, to maintain. In New York, the shallowest team in the world who still doesn't have their roster full. They need to make that decision really soon to actually sign somebody because there's 12 players on that roster. And Josh Hart then hurt his ankle again in that last game. So did Jalen Brunson, but we think he's all right. Hart, I've got as questionable. If he misses, it's going to be Juice McBride. So if you wanted to get a step ahead of that, try McBride because he's going to play 40 minutes. Like if Hart is out, McBride will play 40. And that's good enough. And then got Precious Achiuwa. Hamstring issue till about the middle of November. He's bad, but he'll probably play more than Huck Porty and Jericho Sims as a 17, 18 minute a night player. And if Hart is out, and I don't think he is, but if Hart is out when Precious comes back, then Precious will get more minutes and become at least streamable for 12s. The other one is Mitch Robinson, so I'm thinking about a January return for Mitch. I wouldn't be bothered stashing him. If you're in a situation where your IL is empty, good luck to you. Yeah, sure. But what's he going to do when he comes back? How much is he going to play? Is he going to push more than 21 minutes? Probably not. And that's not good enough to hold on and waste that spot and then push other guys onto your bench who are hurt, all that sort of stuff. It's usually a pretty losing move for a guy that's not even that good or impactful in fantasy leagues. All right, we are 2/3 of the way through the NBA now in terms of looking at these teams and their injuries. We go now to Oklahoma City, who's got a few injuries, and they're all big men. Isaiah Hartenstein with the fractured hand. Got him out until about the 3rd of December. When he returns, I think that his minutes will be annoyingly low. I think that's what will happen. They'll work him back in. You might get him to 25 later, but I think it'll be annoyingly low. The Pig Williams is out as well. He's been out with a hamstring problem. He would likely get some more backup minutes. We'd see what that would do to Chet. Probably not a lot, but they're playing like Usman Jeng at center. So yeah, he'll get some minutes. And the other guy who could play center is the Oklahoma City mudflap, Kenrich Williams, who's got a knee surgery. Maybe next week he returns. We don't care about Pig Williams or Kenrich Williams for their individual impact in most formats. It's more, how does that impact the downflow of guys like Chet or Jeng? And does Chet then, instead of playing 34, do they hold him back at 32 just to keep health, considering how good they are? That's possible too. So just be aware of all those things, that all the players that are out are all centers. Not saying that Chet is not good because he's awesome, but they might be able to preserve Chet a little bit more if 1 to 2 of those players come back. For your Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac is out, or has been out. You'd be shocked to hear that, with a hip problem. He missed a couple of games over the weekend. He is now officially questionable for their next game. It's impossible to have him in a head-to-head daily changes format. 1 game in, hip injury. Like, his body is cooked. Like, he just cannot do it. We thought maybe that he was finding a spot to be healthy and maybe get 23 minutes a night this season. That seems a long way away. The other one is Goga Badadze. He missed the last game with foot soreness, but Wendell Carter Jr. is just playing really well. Goga's not going to be an every night rotation piece. He's a guy we add if Wendell is out, but other than that, he's not going to play every night, especially not when he's hurt. Then we go to Philadelphia, and we got the information about the investigation into Joel Embiid about the health, and shockingly enough, they found out that he did not violate the player participation policy. Because, like I said, I did the investigation for them. Why'd you waste time? Knees rooted. There you go, done. Investigation complete. But they did get fined for apparently some of the messaging around it. So lying. Yeah? Waiting for Charlotte, Milwaukee, Clippers to get their fines for lying. I'm sure the Clippers have actually had quite a few of them. Both Paul George and Joel Embiid are out for Wednesday. I tell you what I find, and I don't like being a Paul George apologist. He annoys me in many different ways, right? He does. But every time he gets roped into these situations, and by roped in, you say, well, he chose this. That's not what I mean. Is that, like, he would go to the Clippers, Kawhi would be on this long-term management plan because of degenerative problems, and we can talk all about all that stuff. And then Paul George would have his knee bent inwards 95 degrees. He would pull a hammy. He would get COVID, and they go, look at Paul George just taking time off for load management. I go, bro, you got hurt. He got hurt. Like, we saw him get hurt. We saw the knee go backwards by 1,000,000 degrees, and it wrecked him, right? We saw that. He's not taking time off. He's not stealing paychecks. He got hurt. And then he comes to Philadelphia, and then Joel Embiid's on this, whatever's going on with his knee and management plan. We saw Paul George get hurt again. And then it gets roped to, of course, always the same with George. Never want to play. We saw him get hurt. Like, it's annoying. It's frustrating. I wish he didn't get hurt, but we literally saw him get hurt. This is nothing to do with the Joel Embiid situation. Paul George is injured. I wish they had been more upfront about the severity of this, because, not. Yeah, he was never going to do that. And I just, again, the lying, I don't know when he's going to be available. I hope it's soon, but I just don't know. And while he is out, and while Embiid is out, it's Drummond, it's Caleb Martin, and then it's more value for Oubre, and then it's 20% shooting from Tyrese Maxey. On to the next team. It is your Phoenix Suns. I don't believe the official injury report is out yet, but Bradley Beal looked like that elbow was still bothering him, so I'm just going to chuck him on there as a questionable tag. No idea whether that's real or not. Josh Okogie hasn't played with a hamstring injury. Newsflash, if Josh Okogie's healthy, he won't play anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Missed a $9 million contract. In Portland, quite a few injuries here. Shaedon Sharpe, still a few weeks away from returning with the shoulder issue. We've got him about the 10th of November for a return. Now, I think that when Shaedon returns, that will make Denny Avdia only a stash and not a viable player. Denny's not even a real viable player every night at the moment. And then Sharpe's going to come back, and that's going to mean, does Denny move to the bench? Probably not. It'll be Kamara. But Kamara's been better than Denny most nights. So we'll see. And as for Sharpe, with all these players still available for this squad, I'm not sure that Sharpe does enough, but he is worth a hold. Rob Williams hasn't played yet. What does that do for the 12 minutes that Klingon gets? Does Williams even play when he returns? Still so many unanswered questions with Portland. And then Matisse Thybulle's out with the knee problem. He had surgeries. I believe he'll be around the 10th of November, that sort of period, but I don't think he's a rosterable guy in 10, 12, 14, or 16 team leagues. He is behind Avdia. He is behind Kamara. He'll get minutes, but it won't be 22 or anything like that. I would be pretty surprised. Although Chris Murray's getting like 20 minutes a night, and that could easily go to Thibault. But I don't think you want to be playing a Kamara, Thibault, and even Denny group. Offense is shocking. Defensively, pretty good. Offense, yuck. The next team we go to is the Sacramento Kings. 2 injuries, but it's relatively clean. Rookie DeAaron Carter with the shoulder injury. We're expecting middle of January, and even then it'll be a slow ramp up. There's going to be almost no impact from Carter this season, I'm guessing. And even if he is available, what is Mike Brown going to do with him and Alice and Herter and Monk? He's going to screw him. And then Orlando Robinson has a knee problem, also not going to play. He's out until maybe the 6th of November, but this just doesn't matter for most people. On to the San Antonio Spurs. Some positive news on Devin Vassell. We're expecting him to be back towards the middle of next week. He is being assigned to the G League. He's doing his ramp-up process after that off-season foot surgery that nobody told us about. And I'm expecting him back on a minutes limit at the end or middle to end of next week. That would mean that any hopes of Keldon Johnson or Julian Champagny maintaining value will drop. It also will probably mean that Jeremy Sohan's usage drops somehow. I still think Sohan is a very clear must-roster player right across the board. But it will mean there is going to be some sort of a dip in Sohan and his overall production. Sohan, by the way, doesn't take threes anymore. We went from 31% of his shots from 3 to 9. So just Luke Cornetting it. Just taking them out of his game. That's why efficiency's up, scoring's up. He's been really good. Trey Jones sprained his ankle. He's out until about the 11th of November. So that meant we're getting more minutes for Steph Castle. It means that we maybe roster Steph in an 18-team league. He's a long way away. He doesn't have a fantasy-friendly game at this point in his career, and obviously we don't need to worry too much about that. Toronto Raptors is where there are big, important injuries, and they are being, what's the right word? Annoying? Yeah, maybe. Scott Barnes got elbowed in the eye yesterday. All we know is he is out for the next game. They've kept him back for further evaluation. I posited a few things. It could be just swelling across the eye. It could be an orbital fracture, so the bone around the eye. Or it could be something like a detached retina. I would say that the way that they phrased the injury reporting suggests that it's not an orbital fracture, because they just would have said, yeah, imaging showed a fractured orbital bone. He's out for 3 weeks and he'll come back with a mask on. That's what they would have said. But they didn't. They said he's out for the next game, he's staying back. To me, that suggests internal stuff, eye pressure, bleeding, retinal stuff, which is either worse or better. It's hard to know, because one thing you know when you've got a fractured bone, here's the time. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. It's this time, you wear a mask, you're back, you're ready. This could be like detached retina, take a week off in a dark room and you're fine. Or it could be something significantly worse and he's out for 3 months. I just don't know. With Barnes out, you've got to pair it with everything else because Bruce Brown is out maybe to the middle of next week. Kelly Olynyk's got a back problem where we just don't have any idea what happens there. Like, who starts? Do they go Abaji at the 4? Do they start Boucher? Probably not. Do they start Mobo? Mobo's a nice stash guy for later on, and I don't mind because if he gets 22 Mobo, he probably is worth a stream. But he might not, and he also just might suck in those minutes. But the position for Mobo to play is 4 and 5, and Barnes and Olynyk are out. So there's the chance. Emmanuel quickly hurt his pelvis in the first half of Game 1. He's still doubtful. We don't have any sort of clue as to when that's happening, so maybe the end of the week. And with him out, we get a lot more Dick. We also get Grady playing more. He's taking more shots, and he is useful for now. And it means you can stream in a Davion Mitchell or a Jamal Shed if you're looking for maybe more so Mitchell for assists and steals. Shed is a deeper league guy. And then Bruce Brown is still out, Olynyk is out, and then Jacoby Walter, first round pick. Haven't seen him, shoulder injury. I've got him as the 6th of November. I wouldn't be shocked if that's a December thing. He's also not going to play until he's not going to play big minutes or good minutes for a while. And he probably would come in and take someone like Jamison Battle, who's been unbelievably getting regular rotation minutes on this team. He's a real player, Jamison Battle. The Utah Jazz, this was the big news from yesterday. Taylor Hendricks, fractured leg, dislocated ankle. That is season over for him. There's no way. It's just not happening. There's no way. That's over. He's done, unfortunately, which sucks. And we don't really know what they're going to do. They could start John Collins at the 4. Now, Collins has barely played any power forward this season. He started last season as the power forward. It didn't work super well. They could just decide they're going to play Larry Markkinen at his proper position, which is the 4, which would mean that someone needs to play at the 3. It could be Cody Williams. It could be Bryce Sensabaugh. Now, I think it would be Williams, but people go, why wouldn't it be Sensabaugh? Well, the reason I don't think it would be Sensabaugh is that Sensabaugh is playing like half the minutes currently that Cody Williams is. So they're obviously more invested in getting Williams minutes than they are with Sensabaugh. Now, even if Cody Williams started, I don't think he's got any shot of being a 12-team league player. He's incredibly passive. He doesn't bring peripheral numbers. He's sort of just finding his way, and I think he's going to be inefficient. The guy I would look to, and John Collins was dropped, rightfully so, in like 17% of leagues. So if he was dropped, you add him and you figure it out. And then we see what they do. It's very up in the air to me. The other one they could go with is a Kyle Filipowski, who's more of a center, but they might play him and Kessler together and really lean into the Utah-ness of that front court. Filipowski's got a great fantasy game. Unlikely it develops and shows everything right away as a rookie, but he's one to watch. And there's the Sensabaugh and Williams thing, who I just don't think they're going to be 12-team league players. Drew Eubanks is dealing with an illness, and Johnny Juzhang's got a thumb issue. While Isaiah Collier, who should be getting those minutes over Patty Mills when he returns, we've got middle of November as a return from a hamstring problem. We're not adding him. He's going to be horribly, if you thought Keontae George was bad, Collier's going to be horribly inefficient. The last team we look at is your Washington Wizards. Kyle Kuzma left the last game with what they thought was a groin issue. Not coincidentally, groin issues is what probably sidelined Jordan Poole's season last season. I think Kuzma will be fine to play. If he is out, that means we look at Corey Kispert as the replacement there. And Brogdon's out until about the end of November with a thumb issue. If Brogdon does come back and doesn't get traded in the interim, it means that like those minutes that Jared Butler were playing were gone, and those 25 that Bub Carrington were getting probably pull back a bit. I don't know why you would want to integrate Brogdon into big minutes, but it's the NBA. Stuff like this happens all the time. You know what happens right now? We end the show. So let's hit that 100K. 20,000 people can just go and subscribe right now, and we'll do it. But in the meantime, if you aren't doing that, just leave comments and double bang on the audio side of it as well. Check out the newsletters, lockedondaily.com, and we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.